各位观众大家好，欢迎收看邓洪说法节目，我是美国联邦律师邓洪，让我们知法守法，据理力争。30多年以前我在做记者，在其中有5年的时间是专门跑政治新闻，除了美国总统选举之类的大的选举之外的话，我也 cover 华人参政这个议题。在华人参政这方面在南加州当时陈李婉若是 Montreal 第一位华裔的女市长这是美国有史以来是创造历史的。而在东部有另外一名从政人士叫做吴仙标SB 吴，他在1995年85年再到89年担任了 Delaware 的州里面的副州长。当然这位人士后来退下来，曾经角逐这个 Senator 国会参议员的位置后来没有当选，但是他并没有退出政坛。在2000年的时候，他推动成立了一个叫做 AD20 这个80-20政治促进会当时我也是采访多次采访过他，他也谈了这个华人参政的理念。在过去几年，吴仙标他并没有退休，他还是继续努力。今天呢，我想有机会再次采访到他。我首先将他的背景跟大家这个谈一下子。SB 吴平时他就叫朋友不要叫我吴教授，叫我 SB 就好了。他是出生在上海，1949年他随家人搬到了香港，在香港念完初中高中之后18岁就来到了美国他先在 Kentucky 的 Georgetown College 里边去攻读物理跟物理跟数学。后来他在 Washington 大学St. Louis 的华盛顿大学的话，获取到他的物理系的博士学位他一直后来是到了University of Delaware 在 Delaware 州大学里面的话担任教授他在这个后来他从政，1994年他开始竞选 Delaware 州的副州长当选了以后，担任州长之后，他就一直从事政治的工作他现在虽然退下来，但是他对政治的历程非常在乎。他认为华人要在美国出人头地，要有地位，一定要参政。但是怎么样参政方法，怎么用智慧来参政非常重要。所以他现在还是担任哈佛大学这个政治学院里边的这个可以说是这个 fellow 研究员，所以在美国参政方面的话颇有研究，并且在2000年他成立了这个组织 AD20 这个很多人还不知道他背景。其实我们现在争取到很多幕后的一些这个很多的政策，对亚太裔华人的这些政策 AD20 功不可没，尤其是在家长我们南加州的华人在这个上街头抗议 SCA5， 也是在加州大学入学考虑的时候要考虑的主要因素。这个部分是小部分的，很多这个拉丁裔议员提出来，很多华裔的议员投票支持。当知道这个议题之后 SB 他站出来跟所有的华裔议员查问为什么你要支持这个，他并且成功了这个劝退了多位华裔的这个议员，包括这个刘云平要反对这个 SCA5， 后来在华人社区的推动之下，还有这个 AD20 幕后的推手之后，这个法案的话被撤回来了。当然另外一个案件也是 AD20 在后面出钱出力在推动的，就是哈佛大学歧视亚裔的入学。在过去我们都知道，哈佛大学常春藤学校在招收学生的时候，它是有一个族裔倾斜，对黑人、非洲裔还有拉丁裔有优惠政策，而对成绩比较相对来说这样子歧视了很多亚太裔的学生。 80-20，他站出来，并且每一年赞助这些律师事务所来推动告哈佛大学。现在这个案件，这个月底，这个就要进行听证会。10月31号，这个案件的话，即将会在最高法院的话听证。从目前看起来，6位保守派的法官，他都表示，既然我们美国是一个机会均等的，那基本上我们高等学府录取学生应该是这个择优录取，不能够因为肤色而歧视亚太裔的学生。幕后的推手就是 80-20 这个组织，很多华人的国会议员在这个议题上面，基本上的话并没有替我们华人的家长说话，一直是推动支持所谓的平权政策，要求给少数族裔预留名额，而少数族裔并不是指我们华人。这部分的话，我跟 SB 吴先标都有同感，就是太多的亚太裔的议员出卖了我们社区的利益。80-20 扮演了一个重要的看门狗角色，他其中的个理念就是要打破我们华人一盘散沙的这种刻板印象。更重要的，他已经要求华人的参政到了另外一个成熟的度 ，maturity 很重要，不能够因为肤色就投票，而因为这些人的政策对我们亚太裔的社区有利。当时我采访 SB 务的时候，那时候他还是非常年轻，以后他就说这个我们华人要团结起来，以后一起有一个共同理念。虽然我们来自台湾、来自香港、来自中国大陆，都有政治都有一些不同样的背景，但是我们来到美国都是为了下一代有一个健康的、安全的环境，有一个能够机会均等的一个学习机会。只要我们努力，都可以赚到钱这样的机会。他说，华人我们要团结，我每个人一张票可能不重要，但是如果我们团结起来，变成一个 block， 我们成为一个关键少数。他说，如果用一支筷子很容易折断，但是如果我们能够的话，用这些筷子绑在一起，那基本上的话，他们就很难折断我们。所以他自己在这个2000年的时候辞去民主党的所有的提名，改成独立。他自己是一个无党无派独立的，其实他的夫人是拜登在参议员的时候，他的夫人 Katie 的话，他是拜登的幕僚长，所以他跟拜登的关系是非常密切的。但是在这次中期选举 ，SB 务居然的话提议，他说这些民主党的参议员，我们 80-20 全部不支持。所以他出生在民主党，后来他太太也替拜登做幕僚长，也是 Delaware 州的，所以关系非常好。但是他居然能够站出来跟拜登总统唱反调，我佩服他的勇气。但是他说，拜登政府上台的时候，我们寄予很大的厚望，但是的话，他现在目前有那么多的华裔科学家，1400多人已经离开美国，就是因为拜登推动的这个他虽然表面上取消了 China Initiative 中国行动这个计划，但是的话，检察官还是不断的来打击这个华裔的科学家，将他们贴标签，说出卖美国，成为中国的间谍。他说，拜登政府有这个责任，他需要惩罚。在这个概念里边，SB 提到， 要有发挥好的政治力量，就要组织一个 voting block。这个 voting block 的话，不单只对这些支持我们的，我们会给他奖赏；对背叛社区的，我们要惩罚。这种的话，他说，你看看犹太人，他们是团结起来，所以每一个候选人，不管是民主党、共和党的候选人，都要表态，我要支持以色列。他说，我们华人，我们关心下一代的教育，我们自己的安全，我们更应该团结起来。他说，我们不需要是民主党、共和党，但是的话，我关键少数就是，如果是民主党赢得了得到了我们的选票，他会赢；如果是失去了亚太裔的选票，失去了华人的选票，他会输。就是因为这个理念，他成立了这个 80-20 的这个促进会，在里边他已经筹集了500万的资金，同时他有20万的资料库，20万投票人的电子邮件。我每个礼拜都会收到 80-20 里边的一些最新的研究报告，因为 80-20 它是一个不是支持民主党和共和党的，但是它会左右两党的政策。如果你要得到华人的支持，得到 80-20 的支持，你会赢。那如果你得罪了这个我们社区，那你可能得不到我们的支持。我会支持你的对手。这个就是吴先标用智慧参政的一个重要理念。如果大家对这个 80-20 感兴趣的话，可以到 80-20 Initiative 网站里边去，它每个星期都有一个 newsletter 出来，同时你可以登记，将你自己的电子邮件以后登记起来，这样子将资料库扩大了，所以他会做一些建议，哪一个候选人我们华人不要投，哪个候选人是友善的。更重要一点，他是一个看门狗。你在选举的时候做了一个承诺，你有没有做到？这也是 SB 非常聪明的地方，替我们华人社区把关。当然 SB 他现在已经85岁，他说我已经85岁，以后做了这方面做好了基础，希望更多的华人能够参与，能够将华人组织一个关键的少数。欺负我们的，我们一定要惩罚；对我们友善的，我们一定要奖赏，投他的票，出钱出力来帮助他。这个就是用智慧、用头脑来参政的一个重要理念。所以希望我跟 SB 的访谈这个给大家一所启发。谢谢大家收看今天的邓洪说法节目，我们下期再会。
To see you, Daniel.
Yes, and you was a professor, and you getting a very good job. But why do you want to throw yourself into politics when you in Delaware? I think it was in 1985, right? You run for the seat and you won the seat. And why you? Because most of the Chinese scholar would be happy to get a tenured professor and teaching. And why you want to get into politics?
Well, good question. According to my wife, I was crazy one day. But I am the kind of person who believes that you got to make something out of your life, do the right things, and accept the triumph, accept the defeat. It makes, for me, my life more meaningful.
Why politics is so important in people's life?
Well, a lot of people think their career is the most important, but they have no idea that the limits of their career, the punishment that could come, all depends on politics. For example, Asian Americans have the lowest glass ceiling above our head. We only have 1/3 the ability to reach beyond the glass ceiling as compared to all other races in government, in industries, and in universities. So most people are not looking into that factor. They should be aware of that factor and do the little they can to do their share, and they'll benefit then.
Many years ago, I brought my kids to Washington, D.C., and we went to Smithsonian Museum, and we see a portrait hanging inside the museum. And the kids asked, who is the Asian face in that? I said, you know what? This is S.B. Wu. I know him. I think you are the pioneer and you will document it. I think, very soon we're going to build an Asian Pacific American Museum, and hopefully we'll see your portrait inside the museum because you are truly a leader in that. Now, one of the things that, I studied politics when I was in college, and I became a reporter and later on become a lawyer. One of the things we study the history, we see that 1781 they have the first very racist act as it's a Chinese Exclusion Act because it was passed by the Congress. I mean, you had never seen any like African American Exclusion Act or Latino Exclusion Act. I think because in the past Chinese American they came, but the American mainstream never treated Chinese as Americans. I mean, that's the things that when you will first become lieutenant governor in Delaware, do you encounter any racism or discrimination against Chinese American?
Not while I was serving as lieutenant governor, but when I ran for elective offices, yes, I did. Americans think in an election, you can do anything, whether it's dirty or noble, to get yourself elected. And so during that time, yes. Let me give you an example. Delaware had a steel factory that has been closed. People like Biden even have tried to revive it, and they couldn't. When I got elected lieutenant governor, I went to Asia to see if I can find a buyer.
Yes.
And I did, from Hong Kong. And so when the 350 workers got their job back, I was the hero. But when I was running for U.S. Senate, my opponent said SBU wanted to sell America. So that's the nature of American politics. So any of you, if you take what politicians are saying during election time, use your judgment. They say things just to win. They have no conscious, no national interest guiding.
They just want to paint the other party as dirty as possible so that they could get a chance to win. I think that's the reason, cut through all the, rhetoric and, see what they have done and what will they do in the future. I think that's important, right?
Oh, yes. Asian Americans, because our community have so many immigrants every year, and it's understandable. Our average political maturity is low, or indeed very low. So I thank you for this opportunity to talk about it, to try to increase the political maturity of our entire community. Until we have enough maturity, we'll be fooled, we'll be punished, we'll have the feeling, say, although they do these bad things to us, we shouldn't oppose, because then they'll hate us more. Don't be afraid. That's not America. You're thinking, people who think that way are using their Asian political experience. In USA, someone kicks you, you got to kick back. If you don't, they think you're weak. They'll continue to kick you.
Well, that's one of the problem we're facing in a Chinese community. A lot of new immigrants come in here. First, they thinking, well, we need to get involved with politics, supporting Asian candidates who look like us.
I'm not so sure if this is the best policy. Just because people are Asians, they don't necessarily help Asians. Some of them, in fact, use their Asian outside appearance to sell Asians. You look around, you see some such politicians, even in your great state of California.
Yes. Well, right now, we're seeing that AAPI caucus in Sacramento, in our state. Basically, they're selling out our community, and when they come back to our community, and they say, we're fighting AAPI hate crime, but actually they're the one who passed legislature and take away the hate crime enhancement punishment. But they come back to the community, and then they're saying that we've done a lot of things, and they're getting a lot of, they get compensated by the liberal group. Yes, they get AAPI, more like a funding to educate the community. The community does not need education. They need law to punish the hate crime. But they're the one who taking away the enhancement, so that those kind of things. I feel very sad, because like Judy Chu, I know her for a long time. She's a congresswoman, but in our community in Montreal Park area, we have close to 50% Asian American voter, close to 30% Caucasian. 90% are conservative, but she's the vice chair progressive caucus in Congress, and our community does not like, we don't like progressive agenda, but she's pushing it. But you know what? She's giving a proclamation and then taking photo and then coming. She did not pass any meaningful legislation in Congress, but she come back. She said, please vote for me. I'm Chinese American. And it's sad to see those kind of things. I think you're talking about the maturity. I think how we're going to become mature, SB?
Well, by listening to programs like this. Let me give you an example where Asian American politicians have sold out our fundamental interests.
Mm-hmm.
Give you one area.
Yes.
Our children's equal opportunity to college admissions.
That's right.
Those politicians voted with the Blacks and Hispanics to say, oh, we got to adopt race-conscious admission policies. But when it put up to a statewide vote, even the Blacks and Hispanics voted against race-conscious admissions. So they should be really ashamed for getting out of legislature saying that race-conscious admission is good. On a statewide proposition, it was voted down by a big margin.
Yes.
So don't vote according to race. Study their program.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think 5 years ago is a group of AAPI political leader who proposed SCA 5 and make a mandate in California that when use University of California, Cal State, or those state university, when they making a mission policy, they should consider race, which made more like affirmative action, make sure African American and Latino American students, they get a preferential treatment. And our community was outraged.
May I?
Yes.
It was not proposed by AAPI political leaders. It was proposed by Hispanic senator. And although AAPI politicians all went for it, when 80/20 found out, we talked to Ted Lieu saying that, hey, how can you do this?
Yes.
You wanted me to help you raise money, but now you voted this way. So he was the first to change his vote, and for which I applaud him. And later on, of course, SCA 5 was defeated.
Yes.
Although the Democrats have more than 2/3 Democrats in the Senate and 2/3 in the Assembly, but still that bill was defeated.
Yes, I think later on the Senate side, it was a Latino caucus. But in the Assembly side is Rob Bonta, who's Filipino-American and now become the state attorney general. But he's running for re-election. He's telling us that, I'm tough on crime. But I think that's something that, as SB mentioned it, don't listen to their sugar-coated political campaign.
That's what I mean. We need political maturity.
Yes. Now, some of the things we're talking about the children's future. A lot of times you were a professor and you know that, there's a lot of the teaching somehow it create a problem for the younger generation. They're pushing, last night attending a function where a school board president showed us the textbooks for sex education in California. For 10 years old kids. That's education textbook is more like a pornography, very, very graphic for 10 years old about LGBTQ, all this concept. And they use very, very graphic to show it. And there's something that, you were in education field for a long time. What's your observation of the current curriculums in high school, in college? Are they going too extreme or are they brainwashing our kids? And what's your observation of it?
Well, let me begin by professing my ignorance. I was only a physics professor. I have not studied the curriculum in California primary schools, so I cannot comment on it. But let me say this. Yes, because of voter apathy, some of the Democrats are extremists, so are some of the Republicans.
Yes.
Again, I emphasize we got to be politically mature.
Well, you were a longtime Democrat, and actually you ran when you was retained as a Democrat candidate. You ran for Senate as a Democratic nominee. I think in the year 2000, you're changing your political affiliation. Why is that?
Well, that is to show that I am not partisan. I am truly there trying to serve the best interest of the Asian American community. I'm not claiming that I've always succeeded in serving the best interest. Politics is about human nature.
Yes.
Human nature, we are not saints. So sometimes a reporter asked me, but perhaps you did earlier on, you say, okay, you can step out from a Democrat, but has your heart changed 100%? I cannot say my heart has changed 100%. So admitting some human frailty, admitting, attending to modesty, I'll still say there are people.
Yes.
Like board members on 80/20's in organization. We truly sacrifice our own interests.
Yes.
And serve with courage and integrity for the best interest of Asian Americans.
Yes, about 30 years ago, I interviewed you because you were traveling through the country and pushing and setting up 80/20. The concept was that, Asian we should get together, become an important swing vote. If we support this group, they win. If we support the other group, they win. I think that's the whole concept, using the 20% of our vote and then change to 80%. That's the concept. Now, how do you come up with this concept?
Oh, well, first of all, nowadays, American politicians don't listen to reasons anymore, but they do pay attention to rewards and punishments. So it's very obvious if you look at the powerful Jewish American community. Why are they so powerful? Every presidential election, every presidential candidate, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, go out of the way to say, oh, I'm a great friend of Jewish Americans. Israel is our best friend. We have such solid relationship with them. Why? It's because the Jewish Americans know how to punish and how to reward. When the American politicians share the rightful concerns of the Jewish Americans, they reward. When they don't, they punish. That's what Asian Americans have to do. Don't be afraid saying, oh, if I punish, they'll get me in trouble. Look at me. I'm talking like this all the time for 30 years. Have I been in trouble? I have not. That also shows one of the real strength of America.
Yes.
America, the freedom of speech is real.
Yes.
And we don't get politically persecuted unless you're weak. You know, all those professors who are wrongly accused of quote unquote spying for China. So many of them, when tried in court, shows that FBI accusations, the DOJ, Department of Justice accusations, were all false. They could not stand up in court, to the point that the presiding judge would say, hey, this is not proper. It's not according to the law as I understand it.
Yes.
So be strong. Don't be afraid. The only thing to be afraid of is your own fear.
I think that's important. Now, getting back to the college admission issue, when a group of parents challenge and file lawsuit against Harvard and Yale school for discriminating Asian parents, I don't see any Asian civil rights organization or political group who come out to support the parents, except 80-20. I think you're the only organization I could read, from my understanding, to stand up and supporting the Chinese parents. How did the decision come about?
Well, we studied the admission issue something like 20 years ago, because that's a big issue. We are not sure we know what we're doing. We did a poll and we found out 92% of Asian Americans approve race-neutral admission, and they are against race-conscious admissions. So with that kind of poll result, we say, okay, let's study it, see how we can be effective. Ed Blum, as you know, was the person who lead that movement, lead the lawsuits against Harvard and against North Carolina University.
Yes.
Among Asian American national organizations, 80-20 is the only one. We contribute. We act. I like to think I have some role in talking Ed Blum into filing this suit, because we got involved with him in the so-called Fisher 1 and Fisher 2 before he sued Harvard and Yale and North Carolina. So through that period of friendship and conversation, I said, hey, Ed, look at Supreme Court justice. Some of them are so mad and stating openly, including the Chief Justice, that Asian Americans were obviously discriminated against, and yet the Democratic justice don't pay any attention to it. I said, why don't you file a lawsuit on behalf of us? And later on he did. I'm not sure if it's directly affected by my suggestion, but at least I said it. And we contributed $10,000 each year to Ed Blum. And Ed Blum will be the first to tell you, without 80-20, he could not have brought that suit, because we helped him to find out all the people, Asian Americans who were unfairly rejected by Harvard, and they must have such persons in order to file a lawsuit. This year, we gave them $20,000.
Yes.
And on the 31st of this month, I'll be traveling to Washington, D.C. to hear the Supreme Court hearing of that case. And at night, I and Ed Blum will be having dinner. The lawyers, which Ed Blum was able to find out. And these lawyers are extremely expensive.
Yes.
And they're willing to suffer very heavy discount in serving in that particular lawsuit on our behalf. And I hope after 31st, we can tell you that we are quite likely to win that issue.
Well, I think that lawsuit is so important for Chinese parents because many of the Chinese parents, they came to America, they want to see equal opportunity for their kids for a better education. But they always encourage their kids to study, focus and study well and contribute, helping the community. But because our skin color, we never get an equal chance. My daughter went to UC Irvine because she could get accepted in UCLA, but she did not choose UCLA, and she chose UC Irvine because she could excel getting a better grade so that she could get into med school. When she applied for med school, because UC Irvine have a medical school, she applied for it, and she's top of this class, but she did not even get the chance to be interviewed. She was crying and said, Daddy, can I change my last name? Because some of her classmates, the grade was very, very lousy. But because they belong minority and Asian are not minority, she did not even have a chance to be considered in the medical school. So that's the reason, I think that, many Chinese parents, we focus so much educating our kids to study well, to get a good grade, and to do volunteer work. But because our color of the skin, they never get a chance to go to the college they want. I mean, that's important. I'm the victim of the UC system policy. And I don't want other parents to go through the similar experience I had. I don't want to try to explain, America is an equal society, but how come our kids will ask the question, how come I could not get in? My classmate who's not as good could get in. I mean, that's something that I think SB, I want to thank 80/20 to
not yet.
Bring this lawsuit to Supreme Court.
Wait till October 31st. Maybe that can bring you the news, good news. The next year in the spring, the Supreme Court is most likely to rule in our favor. Asian Americans should ask, all these organizations talking about the same issue, but they never get anything done. Let me tell you, on this issue, which 80/20 alone has fought it, and next spring we may show you that we bring you results.
Yes, and that result will impact generations of our kids, our children, the future, so that when we, the parents will no longer have to explain why to our kids, why they could not be treated equally. I think that's so important. I mean, yes.
Of course, we are timid because we don't dare to punish. Why don't you talk about whom we are punishing now?
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I was very surprised, some of the position that 80/20 take, because many of the so-called civil rights organization in our community claiming they're the representative of our community, they chicken out. They don't want to offend the establishment. But 80-20 are some of the initiatives you propose. And I think, the presidential endorsement and all that kind of things. And you guys, when I vote, I always check on the newsletter for, what did SB say? Because when I don't have time to study all that, I will always rely on 80-20 to give me the guidance. And many of my friends said, where do you get all this information? I said, 80-20.
Thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, one of the things, President Biden is representing Delaware, and I'm sure you might know him. But sometimes you're taking a lot of steps. You're not supporting some of the policy, or sometimes you do not even support his nomination. Why is that?
Well, actually, my wife, Katie, worked for him, was office manager in Delaware.
Mm.
And we've been to his home many, many times.
Yes.
But duty called. This time, I think Biden has committed a lot of mistakes against our community.
Mm-hmm.
He has a morbid fear of being viewed as being weak on China.
Mm-hmm.
He supposedly canceled the China initiative, but with the name gone, he actually has pushed even more, randomly incriminating scientists of Chinese origin.
Mm-hmm.
It's not racist. It's just political need. Our people always say, it's a racist view. Like hell, it's a racist view. Politicians don't really care about us or care about the blacks. They only care to win.
Yes.
And for them to get more votes, they find us an easy target as a sacrificial political lamb.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we stop it? We have 80-20 has advocated that we do not vote for any Democratic Senate candidates.
Mm-hmm.
We are the pivotal minority in 3 battleground states.
Yes.
Georgia, Nevada, and Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And we just did a poll. We're doing very well. People are listening to us.
Yes.
So if at the end of midterm election, Biden lost his Senate majority, it's quite a bit due to the effort of 80-20. And thereupon, he'll listen to us more carefully. He not only listen to us, they'll be studying how to get Asian Americans back into the Democratic column.
Yes.
People will say, well, but you are letting Republicans control the Senate. Republicans are not necessarily any better. True. But when Republicans see that we can vote as a bloc, either for Democrats or for Republicans, which is the so-called swing bloc vote, they are not only courting us, they are also studying what they can do in order to keep us in the Republican column. That's how politics goes, folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not reasoning. It's strictly what you can do to either reward or punish, to make them win or make them lose. That's what counts in America.
Yeah. I think that concept is so important because a lot of people, they thought, well, I'm a longtime Democrat. I'm going to vote for Democrat. I think as SB encourages that, what is best for our community, what is best for us. And if we could gang up together, just like Jewish people, I think the voting bloc, and we could spin either way, we're more powerful. Now, how we could, SB, we have, that Chinese American, they come people from China, Hong Kong, Taiwan. They have, besides, they have different part of their background. They have different political philosophy. How are we going to unite it, all the Chinese American?
Well, we really share the same interests. For example, we all want our kids to have equal opportunity for education. We all want to make sure that at workplaces, we can rise to the top as our ability and ambition will allow it. So we completely share common interests. It doesn't matter where you come from. We are only looking at the American politics, not old country politics.
Yes, that's important. Now, SB, some of the things for the younger generation of Chinese American, what kind of value we think that the parent could encourage them to go into the politics, because many of the kids, they just want to go to STEM program, be a physicist or astronomer, engineer, you know. Is politics a dirty career? I mean, I want to encourage my kids, you know, someday maybe run for office or something like that. But how are we going to train them to do that, and how are we going to pave the way for them?
By teaching them right or wrong, by teaching them that serving others is the real source of happiness. You think and think and think only for yourself. One day you'll find out your life is very empty.
Well, one of the things that, you know, maybe from your experience, you could share some of the Chinese American in politics, because you're the living example of Chinese American who are still active in the political arena. Maybe from the history, I mean, you study politics, you study Chinese American, you know, in politics. Can you share some of your observation?
Well, I think the observation I have in terms of how to get elected, how to be more effective, is written by so many different books. But let me try to summarize. In America, you can be very selfish and yet get elected. But I would maintain it's not a happy life. If you're looking for happiness in life, then do the right things. If you're just looking for success, then politics is not such a great area to look for success. Look for money. At least you you don't do things that's against your own conscience. So long as you're law-abiding, you can. In America, you work hard, you can get money. To me, the money doesn't mean as much. To me, serving others is a true source of happiness.
Now, SB, some of the things that we want to get involved, how Chinese Americans should get involved, how we're going to start from where, a party or association, or, you know, getting to vote, and what is the best way to do it?
Getting to vote is nothing. One vote doesn't mean very much. This is true. Politicians say this is not true. It is true. But if you are willing to do a block vote, then it means something. So first of all, you find out groups that you think you can trust, and then follow it in doing block votes. You want to contribute, donate money. Many of people are doing quite well. Even on this, during these days when the stock is going down, I think a lot of people can still afford to donate. Don't just talk, do.
Donate is important. Now, some of the things that, you know, the concept of 80-20 is to reward those people who watch out for our community interests and punish those people who sell us out. How does it work?
Well, we have an email list, believe it or not, of 200,000 valid Asian American email addresses. So every Monday we send out information regarding which politicians are sharing our concern, which politicians are not. And we analyze for people what's to our best interest and what is not. We may not always be right, but we have courage. We never lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a rare quality. You look around at some Asian American politicians.
Yeah.
They're timid. They don't do very straightforward analyze. They always defend their party. Can they be right that their party is always right? Pure nonsense. Any politician who always defend their party is not serving you straight.
Mm-hmm.
Like 80-20 used to help Democrats because in comparison, Democrats do better than Republicans. For example, it's easy to do better than Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But when Biden started truly acting against interests, because Biden is so fearful of China, or so fearful of being viewed as being weak on China, such as letting Nancy Pelosi go to Taiwan, which completely upset our strategy towards China that's worked out through decades. Biden doesn't care. He wouldn't care if the relationship across the across the Taiwan Strait is bad, and that it could even lead to a thermonuclear World War III. For that, we say we got to punish him. So make him lose his Senate majority. By the way,
yeah,
Biden is certain, according to all the polls I have to see, will lose his House majority. Nancy Pelosi won't be the House Speaker anymore after midterm.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the 80-20 initiative, do you have someone who studied the policy, studied the candidate, and or you do your own research?
We do our own research.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you hire very expensive political consultants. They can't really tell you anything. Do you know why?
Mm.
Because they don't even know what Asian American interests are. They don't know some of the special, unique characteristics of the Asian American community. They don't know our mix. They don't know how to persuade. So save your money. We have good people on our board, including, for example, Ellis Wong, who used to be the president of AAAS. AAS, if you're a scientist, you know what that is. It's only the world's largest non-government science organization. It stands for American Association for Advancement of Science. That's a huge organization. She is the president and later on the chairman of that organization. So we get together, have Zoom meetings just like this, and send emails to each other. We usually have, I'll say, 2 board meetings each month. And we have employees.
I see. Well, I think it's important. I know that, I'm one of those 200,000 people on your mailing list, and I want to encourage our viewer to sign up to receive the newsletter that 8020 produce. It's very useful. It's very insightful, and they have people who actually study the issue, watch all the candidates and their policy. They're watching out from our community's point of view. I think that's a very good watchdog role that SB's organization has played. That's the reason I want to also encourage people to donate to make 8020 organization stronger, so that we could keep an eye on the politics. And I think I'm gonna put a link to the 8020 organization at the description. Anybody who want to support 8020, we could make a donation to help to support, make this great organization continue their wonderful work. SB, do you have any last words you would like to share with our viewer?
May I?
Yes.
I would like to add that we have $5 million in reserve right now, in cash. So we're not exactly poor, but that's nothing when it comes to guiding the national politics. We hope that we can reach 10 million pretty soon so that we can hire quite a few employees to further expand it. And let me tell you, be frank with you, I'm 85. How many more years do you think I can continue to serve? Not many. I really need to train future leaders. And right now, we don't have enough employees to be trained to make sure that the quality will be kept. Thank you very much.
Thank you, SB, for spending time with us. I hope to talk to you soon.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.